Bismillahi wa salatu salamu ala Rasulullah. Brothers and sisters in Islam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, summa alhamdulillah. The blessed month of Dhul Hijjah has just begun, and throughout the world, Muslims are delighted, happy to receive this one of the blessed months of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why the month of Dhul Hijjah is so blessed? Why we always talk about this month, and whenever this month starts, we always try to do something very special, very extra than normally what we do in our regular days. The reason is very simple. When you read the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Tawbah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created this world, He made this world through 12 months. Or in other words, you can say that as we have in our English calendar, similarly, in our Islamic calendar, there are 12 months. So like English calendar, by the way, either if it is English calendar or an Islamic calendar, if it is one calendar run by a solar system like English calendar, or one calendar is run by the moon, by the lunar system, like the Islamic calendar. Both calendars are, or both months owned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah is the owner of this universe. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that in Surah Tawbah, why the month of Dhul Hijjah is so important? Because when we read in Surah Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discloses, He mentions that when He created this world, He made 12 months for this world. And out of these 12 months, there are 4 months, they are very sacred, they are very sanctified, they are very holy, they are very important. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the 4 months, whenever these 4 months comes, you should do extra worship, you should be extra vigilant, and you should engage yourself in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He mentioned in the other verses of the Quran, especially in Surah Hajj. Let's see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. So inshallah, since the month of Dhul Hijjah has started, we will talk about the importance, the virtues and the good deeds a Muslim should do during this month, and especially the very first 10 days. Like you see, like every year Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends 4 seasons. There is a one season like in the very first quarter is spring, then after that is summer, then after that we will see the fall, and then at the end of the year we will see the winter. These are the gift by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the physical gift for this humanity, for the human being, for all the whole, humankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this 4 seasons, for our physical nurture, for our physical activity, for our physical benefit. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given some seasons, the seasons for our soul, the seasons for our spiritual, upgrade, the spiritual benefits. And these seasons are always comes in a year, and these seasons are very famous. So one of the season of good deeds, one of the season that we can do a lot of good and virtuous deed is the season of the month of Dhul Hijjah. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, that whenever this month comes, do not take this month as a regular month. This is a very special month, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He says, already told you in the Holy Quran. So let's quickly come to Surah Tawbah and see, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning about the importance of the 4 months. So He says He created this world. For this world He made 12 months, and they've been written, in the book of Allah. Out of the 4 months, there are 4 very important months, very sacred months, and these months are, whenever these months come, so you should stay away from committing sins and try to do extra ibadah. Try to engage yourself with some extra ibadah. Try spend some more time, in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Tawbah, verse number 36. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna iddata shuhuri inda Allah isna ashara shahran fi kitabillahi yawma khalaqa samawati wa ard minha arba'utun hurum zalika dinul qayyim fala tazlimu fihinna anfusakum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He says, Inna iddata shuhuri inda Allah isna ashara, indeed the months with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are 12. Allah has made for this world 12 months. Isna ashara, 12 months, and He says Allah has made 12 months. It has been written by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that there will be 12 months for this world, and mashallah, it's been billions of years, that this world has already, passed, and this world has seen this 12 months. The very first thing is, indeed, indeed, the 12 months are written in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fi kitabillahi. Allah says, we have written these 12 months, right, in our kitab. And when he wrote this thing, these 12 months, right, in his kitab, he said, Yawma khalaqa samawati wal ard. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this world, the khalaqa samawat wal ard, samawat and earth, this earth and the samawat and sky. The time when he created the whole universe, at that moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided that he will run this world by 12 months. So remember that there are 12 months, like Islamic, like any English calendar, there are Islamic 12 months, and always, we talk about these, 12 Islamic months. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, though there are 12 months, but there are 4 months, they are very sacred, very important. Whenever one of them come, do extra ibadah, stay away from sin. He says, Minha arba'atun hurum. There are 4 of these 12 months, there are 4 very sacred months. And he says, this is a very straight deen, and whenever these months come, fala tazlimu fihinna anfusakum. Do not do injustice over you. Do not commit sins, right, whenever you see this month. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the very first thing about the importance of the month of Dhul Hijjah. Why the month of Dhul Hijjah is important, and why especially the first 10 days of the month of Dhul Hijjah is important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that number 1, that this month, the month of Dhul Hijjah is important, and whenever in the month of Dhul Hijjah, whenever the first 10 days comes, you should be very extra, vigilant, do extra ibadah, stay away from the sin, because these are the hurumat, these are the month of hurumat, these are the month of holiness. They are very sacred, they are sanctified, very important. In the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are not regular months. So what are the 4 months? Rasulullah alayhi salam explained. So remember here, Allah says 4 months, but he did not mention. So he just leave this thing to Rasulullah alayhi salam to explain. And Rasulullah alayhi salam told what are the 4 sacred months. What are the 4 important months? So there are some people, they say, well, Quran is good enough for us. No, we don't need the hadith. We don't need the hadith. The Quran is good enough for us for our guidance. So ask them, can you just tell, what are the 4 months? What are the 4 months here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning. Nobody can tell until we have to go, or nobody can tell about, the 4 months until he or she has to go back to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the books of Ahadith. And there Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told, what are the 4 months? He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says over here, the 4 months are very important. He says, number 1 is Zikat, which is just passed. Second one is Dhul Hijjah, which is now started. Third one is Muharram, which is the next month. And the 4th month is separate, and that one is what? The month of Rajab. So these are the 4 months. Zikat, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, one after another. And the 4th one is what? Is the month of Rajab before Sha'ban. So these are the 4 months. 4 months, they are the very holy, very sanctified, very sacred, very important. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a very clear way, he says, Fala tazlimu fihinna anfusakum. Do not commit sins in these months, because these are very, very holy months. So we think, whenever the month of Ramadan, comes, we should be extra vigilant, we should stay away from sins. We never thought that, these are the 4 months. There are 4 months, where we should be more vigilant, than Ramadan. Ramadan is always there, right? We talk about Ramadan, we know about Ramadan. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is drawing our attention that whenever these months comes, you should be extra vigilant. You should do extra ibadah. And what ibadah we'll do, inshallah, we will talk about it in the next clip. So in this clip, we learn that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us 12 months. Out of these 12 months, there are 4 months which are very sacred, very sanctified, very holy. And one of them is what? Is the month of Dhul Hijjah. And Rasulullah says, whenever the month of Dhul Hijjah start, and whenever the 10 days of the month of Dhul Hijjah start, you should do extra ibadah. And what kind of ibadah we should do? Rasulullah told us, and also Rasulullah told us why the month of Dhul Hijjah is so important, right? So we will talk, inshallah, in the next clip, inshallah, we will see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in other verses of the Quran, And then after that, what Rasulullah ﷺ told us